Hellmaster EX. This award-winning system features the first single-engine joystick with digital electric steering and new autopilot capability. See Hellmaster EX in action at a Yamaha Outboard dealer or visit YamahaOutboards.com.
Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's August 15th. These are your headlines. It's all about the tuna this week. Hearing about awesome football tuna action south of Block Island. Also hearing about still tons of bonito across the region and the first photographic proof of false albacore in Nantucket Sound. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
Before we begin, we've got a few news items for you guys, and the first one has to do with all that blade debris that's been washing up across the region. It's been washing up on the Cape for the better part of a month now. Started washing up in Rhode Island probably a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. I checked in with Jason McNamee. He's one of the people at the top of the chain over there at Rhode Island DEM, and he told me that basically what they want you to do is leave it where you find it. Now I feel a little bit weird about that, and I'm sure you guys feel weird about it too. It's not dangerous. But what they want you to do is leave it and call the cleanup contractor for the wind developer. I guess, on one hand, they want to be able to chart, where all this stuff goes. And it really wasn't that much stuff or at least it doesn't seem like it. It's one blade, and it's about 2/3 of one blade, and it's made quite the mess. So they want you to leave it, call the cleanup contractor, and obviously they will come and pick up the stuff. The thing about it that I don't love is I've already found some. I've picked it up and thrown it away myself, as before I talked to Jason. But it's very crumbly, so as the stuff bangs against the shoreline and gets thrown up on the rocks and stuff, it's going to, it's going to break down, and it's going to leave stuff behind that nobody can clean up. So you can do what you feel is best with that. You can pick it up, throw it in the trash if you want to, but they want you to leave it. They want the cleanup contractor to come take care of it, and that's probably the best way to go. So I just wanted to pass that info along to you guys. Next thing is the latest installment of Jenni Ackerman's Open Boat. Here it is.
Hey everyone, we're back with the fireplace in the background, so you already know your burning questions are going to be answered now. So this is part 2, and we're going to start off with a question from Rob Brown 22261. And Rob has a question about weak fish on the island. Were there more weak fish in this spring's reports than usual, and do you think they're making a comeback? My favorite word is comeback in fishing industry. Fish are making a comeback, they're thriving, populations are going up. Wouldn't you like to see that for a majority of the species that you target? Recently, we've seen a lot of weak fish being caught throughout New Jersey and New York, especially in the bays, all across the region. Estuaries, bays, the rivers, the canals, everything. Lots of anglers reported fish between 6 to 12 pounds being caught, and I even had a run-in with some weak fish that I don't want to remember this story because it's traumatizing, because I've never successfully landed a weak fish in spots I've been fishing because it's a little tricky. But there have been some weak fish around, and if I close my eyes, I can see the weak fish that, they get the name weak fish so that they got weak jaws. I can see the weak fish that it's hooked, popped out of its mouth just as I was about to flip it. But I don't want to think about that. I do want to think about how the fact that they're becoming more, more as a bycatch. There's more around, which is great. And the one big thing where, like for Rob, he wants the species to come back. A big thing that you want to make it like your mantra is be the change that you want to see. That's my favorite quote. Be the change that you want to see. If you want to see a certain species bounce back, advocate for them. So what does that mean for like the weak fish or other species? It means that you have to conserve wildlife. You can donate to these foundations that protect the areas that these fish spawn in or they thrive in, like the estuaries and the back bays and everything like that. You can teach others about the species, like tell your local fishing buddies about them and talk about how the population is practically killed off and how it's somewhat making a comeback, more noticeable fish being caught. Like, hey, this is the start of something good, let's keep it happening. What are we doing now that is making the population bounce back, and let's keep doing it so they really bounce back. And a big thing, even like better yet, if you can get your hands on them, which you can through Gray Fish Tag or some of the fishing clubs, is tag the species. You can catch a weak fish, you can tag it real quick, get measurements, release it, and you can track to see where that fish goes, so you know, hey, they're going back here to spawn, like this one was caught here, it traveled this far. You can see the distance that they take to live and thrive in an environment that's now theirs. So be the change that you want to see. So thank you, Rob, for that question. Now, this next one, this is in fact not me using this username, but it is a great one. Total Noob Fishing 1753. And Total Noob asks, what are your favorite gulp collars and gulp bodies that you use when targeting fluke? So I'm very stubborn, like many other anglers. When I get a color that works, I stick with it. So a lot of the times I'm not even using gulp. I use other manufacturers such as American Bait Works, Fish Bites, and Q8. They provide the same area rug, feet sweeping, doormat slaying colors for you anglers to use out there, and those work best for me. So when I'm fluking off the surf, I use a 4-inch pink glow or white glow bait. Sometimes I'll use the shrimp shape, I'll use a jerk shad or a mullet. It all depends on where I'm fishing to better match the bait. If I'm fishing not with a sinker, like the bucktail teaser rig, sometimes you take the bucktail off and put a sinker on. But if I'm not, I'll use either a bucktail or a naked jig head. Some work better than others with the presentation. Like on a shrimp, I would use a naked jig head compared to a bucktail because you can see that profile better. So when I fluke off the boat, I strictly use a bucktail teaser rig, and I'll use a 6-inch grub or a nemesis depending on, you know, where I'm fishing, and if there's sea bass around, I do not want them destroying a nemesis because those are like, they're a great bait to use and they're kind of expensive. But that goes on my bottom bucktail. And on the teaser, I will use like a 5-inch grub in that same pink glow or white glow colors. Sometimes I get to the point where like I'm legit at the bottom of the barrel, like I have no more gulp left in my container, or those colors that I like to use, I'll switch to a funky color because you don't know, sometimes that finicky bite like will turn off and they'll be crushing it on that one color that no one uses, that you happen to have left over from a trip from 3 years ago that you bought because you thought it was pretty. Like, that's me. I like the glittery paint, so I'll buy it, but then I never use it. But there have been trips where I've used the leftovers and they've worked. So it's really all about, like, the more you go, the more you know. So like certain colors work in certain areas. If it's dirty water, you use chartreuse, stuff like that. If it's deeper waters, you can use glow because it glows and they see that and they're attracted to it. So that is the end of the part 2. We're gonna do one final one next week and we're gonna get right through it and your questions will be answered. So stay tuned and I'll see you guys next week.
August 24th and 25th on Long Island Sound. WICC Surfside Hotel Greatest Bluefish Tournament on Earth. $25,000 for the heaviest catch, plus additional prizes equaling $40,000. Sign up now at bluefishtournament.com.
Last thing, of course, is the giveaway, which is ongoing. Still seeing good numbers of photos. We're giving away a glide bait made by me in sort of a bunker-like color. And you guys probably know the drill by now, but it's just got to send a picture in to me of you holding your fish. It's got to be recently caught. And you got to give me the pertinent details. You got to tell me, you know, your name. You can tell me where the fish was caught, how big the fish was. Outside of that, there really are no rules. It's just got to be caught on rod or reel. It's got to be recently caught. And you know, it doesn't matter to me if you caught it on vacation, like I'm on vacation here, fishing for smallmouth, or if you catch it in your backyard. Either way is fine with me. Email them to me at danderson@thefisherman.com or text them to the number on the screen. This one is going to wrap up on Halloween, so you still got lots of time to wow me. I look for well-composed photos, so you know, take your time, sort of setting up your shot, get them into me, and we'll see who wins. Moving over to the reports now, still getting really good striped bass reports out of southern Maine. Seems like the lower rivers are really putting out some fish. A lot of bait movement around that area right now, which sort of is, you know, kind of lends some credence to what I was saying last week about it kind of feeling like the fall run might be just starting like sort of the bulk up is beginning up in Maine right now. So we got that. Dropping down over the border into Massachusetts, let's start things off with James Jewkes.
Just up here on Plum on one of the overlooks. These freaking bugs are killing me. Oh my God, they're bad out here right now. Little tiny midgies or whatever the hell they are. Black flies or whatever. But anyways, we get right into the reports here. Weekend was very productive. I had plenty of fish in the 40-inch range. I did get word also that there's been bluefish in the area. I would check the mouths of the rivers if you're gonna try and find any bluefish. But they were up here off of Plum, and I guess they were pretty good size. No pictures or anything like that. I didn't hear from anybody with pictures, but other than that, there was some other decent fish caught as well. No giants, but commercial season's over now, so maybe we'll get into a little bit steadier bite without the fleet just pummeling them. They might be a little more active and might push up and down the beach a little more. So make sure you check your areas. I know up in New Hampshire there was some really nice feeds going on. I heard some good fish over in Gloucester taken. So, I think we're getting close to the start of the fall run up here. The bait's been popping. And a lot of stuff that they've been catching on are what we've been using all season long. So some of those calmer waters, make sure you throw some red fins, floating needles and stuff, a little slower baits, especially at night. Let's give that a shot. But yeah, and the freshwater guys, just to throw it in there. I heard some pikes being caught. Didn't hear too much from the bass guys. But yeah, these bugs are killing me. Oh my God, it's crazy. Alrighty, catch you later.
Now let's head down to Boston Harbor. Check in with Danny Parma from Fish Bucket Sport Fishing.
Thanks, Dave. Dan checking in with the bite from Boston. This week we had a crazy bite go on in the harbor. I was sitting at my desk on Wednesday and my phone started blowing up. Texts, Facebook notifications, calls, where are you? The bite's insane right now. Bass blowing up on top water, bluefish jumping out, pogies getting ripped in half, soft plastics getting torn up. It was just absolute mayhem. We did have a storm that blew in on Friday, kind of mixed that water up a little bit. So by the time I made it out on Saturday, it seemed that chaos toned down a little bit, but we still had a steady pick of a lot of bluefish and a good amount of slots, up to about 40 inches. The big ones are still out there. I had a buddy of mine, a local kayaker out of Gloucester, Eric Attridge, who was fishing on Saturday in front of Dare Island in about 3 feet of water. He got himself a 50-inch striper. So you put the work in, they're out there. The pogies are just about everywhere. You'll see them flipping on the top of the water. You find the pogies, snag one, throw it on a circle hook, toss it back out. Live lining seems to be, taking the cake this week. We're still, trolling the dirty water mojos in the morning with good success, but that live bite seems like it's taking the cake this week. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys. Stay safe. I'll see you on the next one.
Heading down along the south shore of Boston, the surf fishing has continued to sort of, it kind of took a couple steps back from the end of July where it was pretty darn strong. But the boat guys are still doing very, very well. There's a lot of bunker around the area and some mackerel as well. And when these guys find those schools of bait, they're finding some nice fish. Crossing over the canal to the back side of the Cape, to the bay side. Similar action up there. Boat guys are roaming around, finding those roving schools of of stripers that always seem to be outside the canal and heading up more toward Barnstable at that time of the year. Always a good opportunity to get some really big fish in there, and not a lot of structure out there other than squirt and ledge. So those fish are very often just moving around, and guys are just looking for them on the electronics and dropping eels to them. Going around the end of the Cape, going out on the outer beaches have been about the same. Guys are getting some fish. It just hasn't been any consistent place or any consistent action. So guys are, hunting for fish. The guys that are good at it are finding them. The best bass fishing right now on the outer Cape is still in the Monomoy rips. Guys seem to be doing very well out there, and they have been all summer. Still seeing some of those nicer sized fish too, like low 40-inch class fish. Getting out toward Nantucket, that's where the Bonito action begins, and that's been exceptional. This has probably been the best Bonito year that I can remember ever in my time following the fishery. The best fishing has been from like the Bonito bar over to the south end of the vineyard out toward the Hooter, and those fish are filtering throughout the Sound, into Vineyard Sound, into Buzzards Bay, and all the way to Rhode Island. So there's a lot of Bonito around. That's the long way of saying that. The other thing is that, last week we were talking about the rumor here, a rumor there of albies. Well, it is confirmed now. There have been many catches of albies, and a lot of these fish have been solid fish. I haven't heard of anything monstrous, but a lot of 7 to 9, almost 10-pound fish being caught right now. And this first push of albies is one of the best times to fish for them. They haven't seen a lot of pressure, they haven't seen a lot of lures, and they tend to be very aggressive and easier to catch. So, if you want to scratch that albie itch, you have my permission, and albie fever has definitely begun. Pushing through the islands into Buzzards Bay, we haven't seen any albies getting this far yet, but a lot of small striped bass outside the canal, and lots of sea bass activity up in that area. Getting up into the canal itself, things were really good last week. Sounds like they've kind of held on, but slowly tapered off. And for a little bit more on that, let's check in now with East End Eddie.
Good morning, Dave. Another great day here on the beautiful, world-famous Cape Cod Canal. Low humidity, got a dropping west tide behind me, and fishing has been terrific. Everything from 27 inches to fish in the 20, 30-pound class. 6-year-old Sage Nicholson caught a 33-inch the other day with a Green Mac Savage. She's a great angler. She's only 6 years old. Talented lure maker Joe Green Gloves Monahan was throwing one of his custom pencils and got into a topwater bite and caught a 39-inch. And speaking of great lure makers, Paulie the Painter Gravina was using his custom creations, fishing with Mashpee Mike Larea, who was throwing a Joe Bag Swatter. And the two of them caught so many fish, I think they needed a nap afterwards. And Jimmy Kelly did well on the bottom with a Al Gags jig, and Kells was catching slots and better. Bill in the Grove Produce had a good day. He caught a 22-pounder that measured out to 38 inches, and John Captain Morgan caught a 36-inch with a blue Adam striper swiper and a surface bite. Then he caught another 36-inch, and he ended the week with a 45-inch that weighed out to 28 pounds. So congratulations to John. And I was throwing my usual topwater stuff in a surface bite, and the fish were just rejecting it. So they were keyed in on smaller bait. So I used a Gibbs little neck popper, yellow over white, and I took off the bucktail to make for even smaller profile. Caught a dozen stripers, and half of them were keepers, and one was over slot. So fishing's been tremendous. And so my tip of the week is I see guys walking down the service road sometimes with a broken down rod, a 2-piece rod that isn't put together yet. And so I suggest you put your rod together when you get out of your vehicle. That way you're going to have to do it anyways when you fish. And so that way, if you do it when you get out of your vehicle, then you're walking down the road with one thing in your hand instead of two. So until next week, catch a big one.
And then heading out to western Buzzards Bay, checking in with Jason Colby. Tog fishing has been surprisingly good for late summer. Seeing some pretty solid fish. And sea bass fishing continues to, it kind of did a dip there at the end of July, and now it's soaring again. A lot of nice fish coming out of western Buzzards Bay, and that's what I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week. Moving over into Rhode Island, we'll start things off with an East Bay report from TJ Kopecky.
Thanks, Steve. Hey guys, got a quick East Bay report for y'all, and I gotta tell you, things are starting to get like really a little bit hectic. And one of the best thing is there's lots of snapper bluefish around, up inside of the bays, up inside of the rivers of the Warren River, the Barrington River, all over Barrington Beach. There's tons of snapper blues all around, and even in those little estuaries of way up inside. So it's a good thing. And for me, I like going out and catching those snapper blues. You can catch 3 a day, just like any other bluefish. And I use them for bait when I'm fluke fishing. I literally just cut the fish in half and throw it on the hook on the bottom with just a little bit of a chicken ring, and I just bounce it along the bottom, and it works really well. So if you're out there and you're around the East Bay area and you want to catch up on some of those little snapper blues, which are fun to catch too, a lot of them now are already in the 6 to 7 inch range. So, and it's very easy for a big fluke to pretty much handle that. They handle big mackerel, which they love. So a little bluefish right now would be a perfect bait to just run along the bottom in some of the bay areas out in Mount Hope Bay, maybe off of Bristol Harbor, off of Hog Island. There's still lots of fluke in the bay right now, along with all the bait that we have to go with it. And I'm still waiting for like the big hordes of bluefish to come in. And literally, I'm in the midst of writing a great article right now for the Fisherman magazine on the return of the bluefish to the East Bay, which has been pretty scarce lately, and the last couple of years. So, but just look forward to that. It's coming soon. Other than that, some of the bottom fishing has been actually really good. Underneath my whole bridge, scup bite's pretty good. The tautog bite's pretty good. Inside Mount Hope Bay, the tautog aren't as big as they are catching them in Newport Harbor. And just real quick, I had an outing in Newport Harbor last weekend. My friend Johnny Cullen was out there fishing with me, and they were just crushing tautog off the shore next to the Oliver Hazard pirate ship, Fort Adams. Literally every drop they were catching fish 20 to 25 inches, and this is tautog. So they did well. They limited out. There was 5 of them. They limited out. There was 2 fish per person, but they had a great day. And along with that, I was fishing beside them. I'm catching fluke to 23 inches off the same pier. So Newport Harbor, great spot to fish. Not my reporting area, but still, I've been visiting that place quite a bit on the weekends and doing very well. But back in the bay, Bristol Harbor has been good with small bass starting to show up in and out. And I haven't heard any more reports on the Bonito coming back into the bay. I did report last week that they were at the Stone Bridge in Tiverton, and I haven't heard reports this week of them getting any further into the bay. I know they're further out. So, but hey, look for them to start coming in, and false albies are going to be here anytime soon too. So I'm hoping that with all this bait that we have coming out of these rivers and estuaries of the East Bay, that it's going to supply all these nice fish with a lot of stuff to feed on. So be on the lookout, and we'll catch you next week, guys. Tight lines.
Now, as I was saying in the intro headlines, the bluefin action has been really good south of Block Island. There was some concern, we had all that crazy tumultuous weather last week that things would move around and maybe the bite wouldn't be quite as good. That has not been the case. We've seen a lot of small fish, like smaller than rec size. And those are great size fish to catch on stand-up gear. And, so we're seeing those fish from like 30 to 40 inches, and we're seeing good numbers of them. So guys are having a great time on that, throwing jigs and even the occasional topwater hit. Some of the bigger fish, into the 60-inch class are being caught dragging bars around, which has kind of been the case all summer. But by and large, the bite has just been exceptional. It's just been a great year for that south of Block Island action. I know the gully has been good, and you know, some guys are finding these fish much closer to Block Island, so keep your eyes peeled wherever you are out there. You never know what you might run into. Heading back towards shore, there's been some good striped bass activity in the you know, in the Newport, Jamestown area. These fish are ranging in size from like 25 to low 40-pound class. Seems to be a bullseye on that like low to mid 30-pound class. Guys are doing it on a lot of different things. Early in the morning, guys are getting it done with the dock. Nighttime, they're doing it with plastic and real eels. And then during the daytime, a lot of the biggest fish are coming on the tube and worm. And we've seen some fish up to 50 inches coming out of the area. So seems to just be, it's just that continuation of that summer pattern off of Newport, off of Jamestown. And they seem to have really enjoyed the new moon. So get out there and make it happen out there. Still seeing Bonito in that area as well. I want to make sure I say that. And Newport Harbor still has lots of those smaller to mid-sized striped bass kind of hanging around there. There seems to be a ton of bait up in there, and just won't quit. And last thing in that area is the fluke fishing, still very good up around the bridges. So you know, you don't have to go that far, and you can catch a lot of different species of fish. Heading down toward Point Judith. Let's check in first with Jeff Sullivan. Here he is.
What's up, Dave? What's going on, guys? So this week I'm going to give you guys a rundown of what's going on inshore, because everyone knows what's going on offshore with the tuna game, and it's been extremely good. Same goes for inshore. Inshore has been awesome. I mean, you got your fluke bite going on, you got your sea bass bite going on, you got the Bonito here, you got rumblings of albies, you know, on the doorstep. So, I mean, the fall run's looking like it's going to shape up really, really good, and it's going to be a great run this year. Hopefully the storms keep away. Those late fall storms stay away, but we can only cross our fingers and knock on wood for that one. But I mean, as for going out there and finding inshore fish, you go getting on a bite, establishing a pattern. You know, it's really not that hard this time of year. So, you know, if you go out there, you're looking for striped bass, you can get them on the tube, you can get them on top water, you can get them on the bottle dars, like I explained last week. The bottle dars are working really well. The metal lips are working. I mean, the big shads, the eels, I mean, this array of things are working right now. But I have found that some spots are better than others on a different tide right now. You know, sometimes they just shut completely off. You go sea bassing for a little bit and come back to the spot and try it again. And I guarantee you it'll be a different result. We've been getting fish into the mid 40-pound range this week, all in the artificials. It's an awesome bite. We found out a pattern. We found these fish, and it's been epic. So we're taking advantage of that. We've been finding a lot of fluke in shallow water, believe it or not, in August. I mean, a lot of guys are going 80, 90, 100 feet, but we're finding nice fluke in, you know, I think it was 15 to 20 feet of water. The other day we were catching them. I mean, on 1 ounce bucktails. I mean, that's so fun. You really can't beat that. The bluefish have made an appearance. I know they were missing for a little while. Everyone's questioning where they are, but they'll be around. I mean, it's still few far in between in some places, but they're going to fill in nicely. You guys just watch. They're going to be terrorizing your bait schools very, very shortly. You know, they can't keep their fins off the herring. They love the herring. So, I mean, with that being said, there's been a lot of sea bass too, between 40 and 90 feet. There's just been a lot going on as far as, you know, the inshore bite. You know, pick your poison. The Bonito are running everywhere. I mean, need I say more? I mean, it's just crazy. But like I said, we're in the August doldrums, so all this is not supposed to be happening, but it is. So take advantage of it. Go out there, and we got good weather this week. So, I mean, what more could you ask for? You know, top water explosions, Bonito, a lot of bait around, a lot of pogies around. I mean, the striped bass are eating. I mean, tuna bites going crazy offshore. It's just a good time to be a fisherman, Dave. That's all I got to say. All right, get out there, get your drag screaming, and go catch them. Get tight. All right, later.
Now let's check in with Captain John Lee from JL Charters.
John Lee, JL Charters. We had a busy week this week, a lot of bottom trips. We've been having a lot of fun with big scup, big sea bass, kind of on the corners of Block Island. Some blues showed up, so we've been catching some blues, fish to maybe 10 pounds in 30 feet of water, and we've been catching some striped bass and sharks. There are still a lot of sharks around Block Island. They're kind of in with the striped bass. They're a bit of a nuisance, but if someone hasn't seen a shark, then the sharks are pretty wonderful and people get a kick out of it. I'm going tuna fishing tomorrow. I will let you know how I do. Enjoy the weather.
We had no dreamboat entries this week. Mother Nature won out again with the passing of Debbie. The leaderboard still stands at Scott Waterman with 17, Brian Zembreski at 13, Anthony Savino tied with Brian at 13. Plenty of time to enter your fish to win that Steigercraft powered by Yamaha and other great prizes. But you must be a Fisherman subscriber to enter. We can't stress enough that those weigh-in forms must be completely filled out. Please make sure before you leave the weigh station to look over that form and make sure it's correct. For all the details and how to enter, visit thefisherman.com/contests. And now for the Kayak Clash. We had one new entry in the Kayak Clash this week, and it was Todd Trezone with a 49-inch bass. Todd is now in third place with 6 points, knocking out Mike Radzuzwinski, whose name I could never pronounce properly. So the standings look like this. Todd Trezone in third place, Bob Wagner holding second, and Justin Oser is still holding on to first place. To be part of the Coastal Kayak Clash and for your chance to win the Old Town Sportsman PDL 120, fully outfitted by YakAttack.com and other great prizes, you must be a Fisherman subscriber. For all the details and how to enter, visit thefisherman.com/contests.
Heading out toward Block Island now. We already talked about the tuna fishing, but something that has been a welcome change is that the striped bass fishing seems to be recovering. We had a couple weeks there where it really just took a nosedive. It's picked back up this week. We're starting to see some bigger fish again, and that's great news for anyone who fishes that area. Still seeing good sea bass fishing and good fluke fishing out in that region as well. Heading back towards shore along the South County beaches. Breachways had a good week. They typically do on the moons, and we saw the surf fishermen doing very well there on plugs, eels, and jigs. The ponds have been a little slower. Guys are finding some fish up in there, but not quite what they were finding a couple weeks ago. So that's slowed down a little bit, but we are seeing lots of bait along those beaches, which is a great thing. Bluefish have still been pretty scarce. We've seen some bigger fluke though along those areas, especially down toward Mesquamaket. Seen some fish in the 7 to 9 pound range this week. So maybe a new body of fish kind of hovered in there, but that's good news. And sea bass, as usual, been good on those wrecks, and heading out toward the Watch Hill Reefs where there's been some large striped bass, and then heading out along the backside of Fishers, you're also finding some big stripers, and that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. Crossing over into Connecticut now, race still very good. Still seeing some big bluefish in that area, and lots and lots of striped bass. That's just been hanging on and hanging on. The bluefish have been starting to sort of take over the daytime bite, especially if you're throwing diamond jigs. But if you go out at night, three-way some eels, three-way some bucktails, you're finding a lot more bass. And if you're really into the blues, you can go up along the backside of Fishers and toss some eels up in tight, throw some docks up in tight, and you might find some really nice striped bass in that area. But be warned, as I said last week, been a lot of sharks around, so we're seeing a lot of stripers bit in half. Moving up toward the Thames River, scup fishing has been exceptional, all inside the river, all along the ocean front there. And the fluke fishing has been surprisingly good along there. But the place where the fluking has been really coming to life has been outside the Connecticut River. I've seen more and more bigger fish on the sand waves and the sand shoal, and guys are, they're calling it one of the best seasons for fluke that they've seen in a long time, and it really seems to be sort of ratcheting up right now. let's head up the river and check in with Rowan Lytle.
Hey everybody, so the rain last week definitely brought the Connecticut River up and muddied it quite a bit, and though it's settling back down, it's still fairly muddy. So the main stem of the river might fish slow because of that mud, but a lot of the coves and backwaters should be in good shape, and a lot of the tributaries. Definitely looking at good average late summer conditions other than that mud, and that'll keep the fish fairly happy in stable conditions. And of course, a lot of your bite windows are going to happen early and late still, but the fish should be comfortable in stable conditions and feeding fairly well right into the weekend.
And lastly, in the central part of the sound here, we'll check in with Matt Stone from Black Hall Outfitters.
Morning everyone, Matt here from Black Hall Outfitters with this week's fishing report. A lot of the same summer stuff going on right now. Big bass locally have been a little tougher to find, but you can definitely find them if you're putting in the time. Using like live eels, great time of year for live eels, great time of year for GT eels. There's going to be a lot of smaller fish starting to kind of make themselves known. We're in mid-August now. Mid to late August is when we start to see that bait that's been kind of growing and maturing in the creeks and rivers and stuff start to dump out into the sound. There's the fuel for the fall run. We'll start to see that happen. So you're going to see probably increased bird work and increased blitzing, especially on cloudy days or days with good tide, kind of organizing that bait, kind of conveyor belting it towards those fish where they know they can find it. For bigger fish, you're definitely gonna need to put in the time in the low light hours. That's what I've been doing, and it's been good. There's fish out there, sharks out there too, a lot of them. So if you're local to CT, just be aware of that. Brown sharks. Fluke fishing has been really good. We had an 11.8 and an 8.2 pound fluke weighed in at the shop within the same 24-hour period. So good fluke right now, deep. Those guys got them pretty deep. So. Sea bass too has been pretty deep. That should improve kind of as the air cools here in the next month or so. So that's kind of it. Tons to do. Porgies everywhere as always this time of year. Have some fun and enjoy these waning weeks of summer.
Now it does seem like the black sea bass fishing has sort of gone up a level again this week, especially in those western central sound reefs like 6 Mile and Southwest. Seeing some better catches coming off those areas, especially on the deeper, further ends. Lots and lots of scup activity in there, or porgies, as I should say in Connecticut. That bite has just been insanely exceptional, and that extends from the reefs all the way to shore. And the striped bass fishing in the Western Sound it's been decent. It's really a nighttime thing, and it's been mostly with live or chunked bait. You can find some decent fish though in the 20 to 30 pound class, and it's been good. It's been solid. And for a little bit more on that and all the other things happening in the Western Sound, let's check in now with Max Finch from Fisherman's World.
Hey everyone, Max here from Fisherman's World with another local fishing report. This past week, it's the week of the spots. We've seen a lot of spots caught off the pier, Capt pasture, Rhode Island, guys fishing, the shore and country dock in the harbor, behind the maritime. These fish are being taken on clam, sandworms, squid. Really cool to see. It's actually also a really good bait for stripers, live lining or chunking them up. And then on the fluke side, it's been still a little slower. You really got to pound these areas. They can be anywhere from 30 all the way up to 80, even deeper this time of year. So bouncing around is key, and especially when you catch one, a keeper, I would mark the spot. Odds are there's more with them. So places like 26, 24, south of the islands on the humps, south of Green's Ledge, south of Rhode Island. We heard a little bit of uptick this week of fluke off Port Jeff in the deeper parts towards middle ground, but you really got to pound these areas. Sea bass still remain deep, so if you're really targeting sea bass, I would be at least 50, 60, 80 on top of these deeper water wrecks, especially guys that have spot locks that I'm talking to. They're getting them on jigs, butterflies, diamonds, high-low rigs with your favorite bait, bucktails, tipped with gulp. Bluefish, so there are blues out in the middle, so trolling wire on umbrellas or deep divers, and then on those real flat days on heat, you can find them finning on the surface. They're a lot of fun when they're like that on poppers, SP minnows, you name it. Stripers, it's the dog days of summer for stripers, definitely a little slower, so your best bets is, sunrise, sunset, into the night. Blind casting around the islands, guys with the fly rod are throwing deceivers and clousers to get down a little more. Spin guys are finding them like rips, a lot of schoolies, slot size. There's still some, 20 to 30 pound fish mixed in around, mostly being taken on chunks at night or 3-weighing eels or live bunker at night. Thanks and good luck.
And that's what I have for you guys in the reports this week. Hopefully it's going to inspire you to get out there. It should inspire all you albie guys to get out there. This is like Christmas time for you guys, so get out there, make it happen, take some pictures, send them in to me. If you're not a subscriber to The Fisherman, I highly recommend you head to our website. That's thefisherman.com. You'll get a full taste of what we offer. It's all the fishing, from Delaware up to Maine, every angling discipline, every species. You can't name one that we won't cover. And you get all that for $29.95 a year. It's the best $30 you can spend in fishing. You're going to get 12 paper editions, like magazines, sent to your mailbox. You're going to get 26 digital editions sent to your inbox. And you're going to get digital access to all the back issues, plus the other 2 editions. So if you sign up for the New England edition, which is the one that I take care of, you're also going to get digital access to the Long Island Metro edition and the New Jersey Delaware edition. Like I said, I mean, how can you go wrong? That's $30. You're getting 3 magazines. You're getting all the reports to cover that entire region. But if you go to the website and you're still not interested, which would be hard to believe, at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube and hit that little bell thing right there so you get a notification every time we post something new. Appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.